So, in this kind of simulation concept, the point of the game is to escape, and then you get to choose essentially how much challenge you deal with and what you focus on. If you can only support creators who provide value and make you think, please consider contributing to my Patreon page the next time you watch one of my videos. Hello everybody and welcome. Today I want to talk about simulation theory. Now, I've mentioned simulation theory before, and to me simulation theory is perhaps one of the most likely explanations for how the world was created. And the reason for this is it includes pretty much every other any other evolutionary theory within it, and not many other evolutionary theories do that. So, to me, the broader the possibilities of a creation theory, the more likely it is that that is the case. But I was recently watching this video on simulation theory, and more on the spiritual side rather than the scientific side, because there's this guy, Seth Lloyd. He's a quantum computing technician or something like that. He works on quantum computers, essentially. And he talks about how the world consists of essentially bytes of information. So, everything is created of atoms and particles and all these other things, which act similar to how a computer functions, where you have all of these little bytes of data. You have zeros and ones. Binary code pretty much makes up everything in a computer. And then you have electrical impulses that kind of like connect concepts together and create reactions and whatnot. But in a quantum computer, the difference is that there's never just one. It's not either or, it's always 0 and 1. Like, you don't have true or false, you have true and false, which is kind of an interesting concept. And if you want to look into quantum computing more, definitely check out Seth Lloyd. He's a very interesting guy. But in this particular video on simulation theory, to this guy, he didn't really mention the word simulation theory, but he was talking about how if you visualize yourself as a gamer, like the ultimate gamer, and then you are told, hey, you can create your own game and play it as much as you want, but the point of this game is that you're trying to get out of the game, and you go into the game knowing that you will not be allowed to remember that you are in a game when you start. So essentially, you're playing this massive form of virtual reality where you have this higher self, this broader perspective of you, choosing parameters of your life, like how you look, your name, your gender, the location you're born, places you live, things like that. And then once they have all the information put in, they put on the headset and they start playing the game. But as the character, you have no memory that you're in a game. And as the character, you have a certain level of autonomy. So essentially, we are the character that some higher being created. And whether that higher being was created by an even higher being and it just keeps going up, or whether that is the ultimate higher being, like ultimate consciousness or something like that, we don't know for sure. My guess is a step up from me is probably a broader version of me, which means that there are probably multiple steps to get to the ultimate consciousness. But whatever the case may be. So here we are, essentially fabricated characters in a game. And the point of the game is to get out of the game, to find the escape hatch. But we don't even know that we're looking for the escape hatch, essentially. And we do know that if you kill yourself, it does not work. Well, at least if you are far enough into the game, if you've learned enough, you know that. Because, you haven't actually solved the game yet. You've just rage quit, essentially. You're so angry that you decided to just exit the game by force, and you didn't actually finish it. So that's kind of where suicide comes in. It's not exactly a solution, it's more of a rage quit or a depression quit or whatever the case may be. You're in a negative state of mind, and so you quit for a bit. And as anybody who has played a game knows, there are times where you do this. So to a certain extent, suicide is understandable because rage quitting from a game is understandable. Not all of us can maintain a positive vibration when we're in the middle of a game. It's really challenging. I, for one, know that I cannot remain focused on something that is super challenging that is making me pissed. You know, eventually I will have to leave and come back later when I'm not angry. So, in this kind of simulation concept, the point of the game is to escape, and then you get to choose, essentially, how much challenge you deal with and what you focus on. He was talking about how you have NPCs, the non-playable characters, who can guide you on your journey, but it's up to you to decide whether to start or not. You know, it's up to you to choose how the journey goes, or if you even go on the journey in the first place, which is kind of a cool concept. Personally, I'm not sure I quite believe in NPCs. Like, I mean, I know that NPCs exist, but I'm like, in the game of life, my guess is NPCs are more like a character who is closer to finding the way out, or they're a character who is like an enemy character, where they're really, really far from finding the way out, and so they think the best way to win is by defeating other characters, so they play the role of the monster. Now, this guy was talking about how NPCs are trying to keep you in the game because they believe they will stop existing when the game ends. And I'm like, but wouldn't an NPC be kind of like a character created in fiction? And this is kind of another level of simulation. But essentially, an NPC is also a fabricated character, but the character is unique in its own way, so you can't deny that it exists. So with a fiction story, you know, you might have an antagonist and a protagonist, but both characters are separate and distinct, and who's to say that they're not real? I mean, we don't see them in our physical world, but they exist just as obviously as you do, you know, especially if you are the author of the book. That character it kind of has his own life. I mean, every author knows that sometimes your characters just take over the story, which means that, you know, there is no set path. You don't get to choose how your story goes. The characters do that on their own, which kind of indicates that they have a mind of their own, and that you're kind of tapping into it. So maybe we're looking at parallel realities. Maybe we're looking at, you know, a simulation theory that's playing out within our own heads. You know, maybe we're part of a simulation, but we run a whole bunch of simulations in our head as well. So who's to say that they're not just as real as we are? Even though they're not in our physical world, does not mean they're not in a physical world. And it's possible that we're just kind of connecting to their story. So I think that's the cool thing about this life game, is that there's so many levels of simulation, and you can never know where you are. But I do know that the lighter you kind of take life, the better it tends to go for you. You know, if you're in a positive state of mind, you can always find a solution. Versus when you're frustrated, when you feel stuck, there is no escape. You just keep struggling and pushing and forcing, and it doesn't get you anywhere, you know, because you chose the path of more resistance, so you just find another monster. And maybe that's fun. Maybe you enjoy the challenge of another monster. But if you're enjoying the challenge, that's a very different thing. If you chose the wrong path accidentally and are now frustrated by the amount of monsters you're facing, then you might have to, you know, back off for a while. You know, stay in place until you can get your mood back in order, and then start enjoying the challenge again. It's not an easy thing to do. I don't really know how exactly that's supposed to work in a simulation. I know that suicide is a bad idea, but, you know, some people might find that helps. I don't know. Simulation theory is clearly bigger than my brain can necessarily comprehend or understand the full extent of it, but I do find that I think that this simulation theory is fairly accurate, and it's very fun to think about. I definitely find that I enjoy being reminded of the simulation theory because it fills me with such joy to talk about concepts like this. I mean, like right now I feel super excited and I'm happy, and it's really fun, you know, having that positive emotion within you. It feels good. And this is one of the reasons why, you know, that emotional health, emotional well-being is natural. Because when you're not affected by some negative life circumstance, your natural state is a higher emotion. you naturally return to fine or peace or happiness, things like this. This is the natural state, similar to how your body, its natural state is wellness. And that indicates that if you have an illness or something going on, that there's actually a imbalance within your body. And so that's strange, and you need to find what is causing it. And I'll probably do a video on this concept a little more at some point. But it is a really cool concept where the positive emotions are just natural for us. That's where we're supposed to be. And this concept of simulation theory really helps me get to that higher emotional state, because I'm like, oh yeah, this is super cool. I mean, just think about it. It's really fun. And whether it's true or not, I may not ever know. But, you know, it does feel right to me. And maybe it'll feel right to you as well. I'll definitely post the other video in the comments so that you guys can watch it as well. I definitely recommend it. He kind of blathers on for a little bit, but he has some really interesting ideas in there. I'll probably have to rewatch it and like make another video on some of the other concepts he mentioned. But for now, I think this is good. And I really enjoyed having this lecture today. It's a lot of fun. I've said that like 20 times, but it's true every single time. So if you like this video, definitely click the like button, subscribe, click the notification bell. If you have any questions, ideas, comments, you know, leave them in the comment section and I will do my best to respond. More than likely, I will delete any negative comments, so, you know, might as well not leave them, but, you know, your choice. But that is everything. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I hope I got you thinking a little bit, maybe considering this concept yourself and having fun playing with it. And I hope that you can continue to find some joy in your day. So thanks for watching. Talk to you soon.